if you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody who do you want. Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega power, yeah.
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling dealing. Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Talk 'em Into the Building, a wrestling podcast where all we do is talk about the promo. We talk about the talkers, hype the hype man, and pontificate on the promo. I got it right, Adelaide. I got it right.
You got it.
It's taken 2 years, but I got it right. Here I am. I'm Greg out here in the ATL, Georgia. For those of you who don't know, in the USA. I'm also got my homies across the globe a little bit at times. You know how we do. On the West Coast, I got Adelaide out there in LA. How's it going?
Hello, sir. Doing well.
Repping them Dodgers. Then not too far from me here in Georgia, but we bet in Dallas, Texas. Adrian, what's going on, bro?
What's happening, man? I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk about this wonderful thing called pro wrestling.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, for anybody who doesn't know, we bring different promos and we break them down. We don't always know what we're going to bring. So today I get to bring these promos. But before we get there, wrestling it's like a buffet. It's like going Golden Corral, going to one of those Vegas buffets where you got everything from crab legs to shrimp to prime rib to everything, right? Sushi, all over the place. If you don't know, Adrian, they just opened up one not too far from here. So in Duluth, Georgia.
Really?
I'll send that
Nice.
to you. But
Okay.
crazy buffet. So Adelaide, think about that. All the different things that are brought into wrestling. What are some of the interesting things that you can think of? I mean, whether it's bringing an animal to the ring or representing something crazy like Mr. Iguana. What's some of the crazy things you can think of?
And I mean, Mr. Iguana, I thought you were going to ask me about my favorite buffet spots. I'm like, oh, dog, let's go. R.I.P. hometown. But, man, that's a loaded question thinking about it. Definitely like the animals. I skew weird. So, like, I love anytime they do something that just doesn't fit the aesthetic or what we traditionally think as pro wrestling. And as hard as it's going to be to believe, as much as I think as much as most of us dislike the guest host era for WWE, when it worked, I was locked in, brother. And when they did Price is Right, when they did the Muppets, I was gonna ask. Yeah. It was like, and it was because like who they brought in knew the show, knew the game, knew like the you didn't even have to know the storylines, but just knew like these are the rules of pro wrestling, right? Of what the show is. And when somebody comes in, regardless of who they are, it's fun because it's like they're here to play, they're here to be part of the show, right? It's like no different than when a guest host does SNL, right? I know they probably would have loved to have done something that got permanently, but obviously they didn't have the know-how. But it's those things that make me freshen up wrestling. I don't think it has staying power ultimately. I think it is for a cheap pop a lot of the time. But anything weird like that makes you not question, but just makes you see wrestling for what it is, which ultimately I'm like, I'm not going in there unless there's some long-term storytelling. Most of the time, I just want to have fun. I just want to be entertained. And a lot of the times those weird guest hosts are weird, or not weird, but just maybe people you wouldn't expect to see in a pro wrestling ring makes it really fun at times. And Mr. Iguana being kind of a namesake, right? It's like, who would have known? Because if you asked anybody in Mexico who's like a hardcore fan, they would not have said that.
So Adrian, I'm gonna come to you. So just thinking not so much about that part, but think about like some of the crazy characters. I know we've done characters in the past or personalities or people who've been a little bit over the top. Not necessarily boogeyman over the top, but like a different type of over the top, like a little bit more real, but not necessarily real. Like you sit back and like, do you really talk like that in real life? Like, think about a
Right.
character that you can think about.
I instantly think of IRS.
Mm,
I instantly think of him when you're talking about characters that you're. It's just bizarre to think about this accountant, essentially, this business accountant, walking around with his arm sleeves ripped off. He's jacked, but still has his tie, still has his briefcase and all of that stuff. And his whole thing is you're a tax cheat and all
mm,
that. And how bizarre of a character, and yet it still worked, especially with who he interacted with. When you're
mhm.
talking about $1 Million Man, who in all likelihood was probably a tax cheat himself, if we're being honest, which is the irony of it. But it's just how bizarre his character is. Not that it's way off being super bizarre, but it's just funny. It's just
Mm.
funny. It's one of those things where you as a kid, because I'm just thinking about me as a kid, us booing him while he's saying you're a tax cheat, and we're like, what the fuck are taxes, bro? Like we don't know what taxes are, but obviously because my dad's booing him, I need to boo him. So,
Right.
it's that kind of personality.
And also the thing about IRS for a second, just kind of one of the things that jumps out at me now
Mm-hmm.
is that first opening line for Cody Rhodes. Wrestling has more than one royal family. Because
Mm-hmm.
that right there, that legacy, Rotundo,
Yeah, for
Wyndham,
sure.
Mulligan,
Yeah,
crazy. And
that's a
for
fact.
those of you who don't know, you're looking at Bo Dallas, Bray Wyatt, Mike Rotundo, Barry Windham, Blackjack Mulligan. Yeah, it's crazy.
Got bangers. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Well, you'll probably be like, all right, so where are we going to go today? So I started thinking about different things that I connected with, not just as a kid, but different characters. And I think about Saturdays and coincidence, something you have on right now, Adrian. You have dogs. Dogs are part of our life.
Amen.
DAWGS, right?
Amen.
University of Georgia Bulldogs. And talking about that, I think I'm going to pop this beer. That's a Classic City Lager for anybody who doesn't
Cheers.
know.
Hell
That's
yeah.
from Athens, Georgia, God's country,
Yep.
home of the University of Georgia.
Perfect
So I
college town.
figured, let's talk about some dogs. Let's talk about some characters throughout the years that were dogs. Now we've had the British Bulldogs. We're not talking about them. They had Matilda. We're not talking about her. And if you don't know who Matilda is, they brought out a bulldog because during that time, if you were named after a bird or a snake or a
You were
dog,
bringing
you
it
had to
out.
bring a real one to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it was Frankie the bird, whether it was Damien who got smashed by earthquake, or whether it was Matilda or whatever. Oh, even Ricky. Ricky brought out a dragon, if you
Oh
remember.
yeah. 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 Yeah.
So everybody. So I'm gonna take y'all a little bit back in the day. We're gonna go back and look at somebody. One Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer.
Many times, however, injuries can be so debilitating that eventually they begin to affect you emotionally. And I can't help but feel, perhaps, Mr. Sawyer, that emotionally, perhaps you're just a little bit...
There's a lot of emotional things going on in my life right now. A lot of things happen. A lot of people in my life that I see that I ain't seen in a long time. I see, and it's bringing back memories, bringing back times when I was a little boy, bringing back times when I think I might grow up to be a bigger boy. You know, I sometimes sit back and I think, yeah, I'm the Mad Dog, and I'm the best there is, and I never denied that, and I've always said it, and I'll always believe in it. But get that camera up here on me, and you'll see life has changed mine. Life has changed me. Wrestling has changed me. Tommy Rich, you have changed me.
So that's one Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer. Have y'all ever heard of him? Adrian, you ever heard of Mad Dog?
No. I haven't.
Ali.
Not at all.
All
Not
right,
until
so
30 seconds ago.
Yeah. What's the deal? Yeah.
he was a big star in Georgia Championship Wrestling, early World Championship Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever go back, and that was at Battle of Atlanta,
Okay.
huge feud between him and Tommy Rich.
Nice.
Huge.
I know Tommy Rich.
Yes, and
Yeah,
big
I know
time.
Tommy. Yeah.
And there's even another promo I almost brought where he's got a chain around his neck and he had a dog collar match with Roddy Piper. Buzz,
Nice.
crazy. Like legit. If you ever hear some stories about Buzz, totally legit out there.
Okay.
Way out there. But I would say hardcore before hardcore. Like
Okay.
he always had that chain. He as you saw his head,
You saw his,
that was a
yeah, his
crazy
forehead.
battle.
Yeah, yeah.
And that Battle of Atlanta is available on YouTube. If you go search it, it's out there. It actually
Okay.
might be maybe taken down now, but I think WWE actually had posted it at one point.
Put it in the vault or something.
Yeah. It was serious. That was a crazy. And you got to remember that's in the Omni in Atlanta. So for anybody who doesn't know what the Omni was, that was like the Madison Square Garden of the South.
Mm-hmm.
That was WCW or Georgia Championship Wrestling's staple. That was their
Yeah.
home.
Mhm.
Once a
That was
month,
it. Yeah.
every single month, 17,000 people. My first foray into wrestling live, my brother took me to the Omni on a Thanksgiving night. I think
Nice.
maybe been Thanksgiving. I know I went on Thanksgiving night when I was like in third or fourth grade, and we went down there. My sister-in-law was like, "Wow, there's a lot of people on this." We rode MARTA train down. There's a lot of people on here to go see the Christmas tree light, and my brother's like, "No, no." And she was like, "They're not all going down here to this wrestling thing." He was like, "You may be surprised." She walked in, we was like, "Oh," and legit, it was packed, crazy packed.
Mm.
But Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer, crazy dude. If y'all have a chance to go check out some of his stuff, over the top. If you like Moxley, if you like that GCW, if you
Mm.
like that type of stuff, that
That
was
was him.
obviously not to that level, but for that time being, Abdullah feuds, Tommy Rich feud, Tony Atlas. I mean, you're looking at
Mm.
all those guys. Dusty, crazy, crazy. But he paved the way
Mm.
for a lot of people. No longer with us, as a lot of
That's what
those
I was
guys
gonna ask
are.
if he
They
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
battled a lot of, shall we say, demons
Yeah.
back then.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you hear a lot of not so positive stories about old Buzz.
Mm.
Yeah. But going back to that little promo,
Yeah. Yeah.
what did y'all think about that? Adelite, I'll come to you first.
Man, he had me going because at the beginning, just the cadence, like the bandana, the beard. Honestly, I'm thinking a little bit of Randy, but not obviously he's not emoting that much. Uh, the shirt, the deal with the just popping it over with the, you can tell just as easy put it behind his neck.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately I'm like, who is this dude? I'm like, and it feels Simon Standard. He's drawing you in. He does a camera piece where he invites the camera in, but that reveal, brother, I was not expecting that much damage there, and
Mm.
you can see there's more there. This was not a long promo, but it didn't have to be ultimately because it felt like it was kind of a bumper between for the show that they were just trying to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, anytime I see I see the setup with a classic announcer with the skinny mic, I know it's probably going to be pretty good or pretty bad.
Mm.
And I think he was probably somewhere in the middle. I think there was some confidence there that wasn't quite there. But definitely, when you were saying it, I popped them up and checked the wiki. Y'all, if you're those are the listening and watching here, check out his Wikipedia page. That is the wildest career for RIP because apparently he passed away pretty young. But
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
there's some influences there on modern wrestling, on Shawn Michaels, Jim Cornette, Undertaker, inspired Hell in a Cell apparently with a Tommy Rich match.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Yep. That
Yeah, so
Battle of
this
Atlanta.
dude
Yeah.
had quite the career for being in wrestling. Wrestled Dan Severn in high school
Oh, that's
and
crazy.
lost. It's like, what? Who is this guy?
Nice.
Why haven't I ever heard of him? It makes me want to just look to see what more. Even wrinkles and all. Apparently, he wasn't quite the best dude ever. But anyway,
Mm.
So, Adrian, what was your impressions?
I mean, when it came to the fashion end, that's what immediately stood out to me because the bandana that was a nice touch, so that you can reveal what's going on there, obviously. But like you said with the shirt, that was stuff we would do after football practice.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you're completely just like, I don't care. I'm tired. I'm sweaty. Whatever.
Mhm.
This is me, and I just have something on like that. I've never seen him before. I want to say I've heard his name. I would say that I'm tripping if that was my first time hearing his name, but I've heard his name before, and I'm definitely intrigued to check out his feud with Tommy, because I enjoy Tommy Rich. He's
Yeah.
one of my favorites. So definitely intrigued. When it came to his promo though, am I tripping? Did he have a lisp? Did he sound like Dusty a little bit? Like a dusty
A little,
lisp?
but also
somewhat?
if you think about this, this is storytelling, right? This
Right?
is post a crazy match where
Okay.
he's now like, you've changed me. So now he
Oh,
flips.
okay.
He's gone from, and I'm gonna show. I didn't plan to do this, but I pulled up another promo that I had that I was gonna bring. But I was like, you know what? I want to show you guys a little bit different side of him. But it's
Mhm.
like you'll see a different side, but it's because now he's changed. Like everybody's
Okay.
talked about, that's one of the biggest, craziest feuds of all time. We always talk about the Von Erichs and the Freebirds. We talk about all these other feuds we've had throughout the years, but that one in Atlanta, crazy. For
Okay.
territories, crazy.
Got you. Okay.
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 So I'm gonna
Nah,
pull up this
so we
other one
gotta
for
go
you guys
back and
real
see
quick.
it. Yeah, I want to see it. Yeah.
Let me see here.
This
Battle
is
of Atlanta,
before.
right?
This is before the feud. I meant.
So this
before
one is
what
just
happened.
it's just another promo for you to see, but it's only 46 seconds. You're gonna see somebody else in this one.
He's ready.
One
He's
precious
ready.
Paul Ellering.
Dog Gordon
Yeah.
Soley. And the belt he dog Gordon 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 Soley. And the belt. Get off his feet! Hook into him, just lay there! Get off his feet! Hook into him, just lay there! Get off his feet! Hook into him, just lay there! Get off his feet! Hook into him, just lay there! Get a lot of life left in this man! Get a lot of life left in this man! Get a lot of life left in this man! Get a lot of life left in this man!
And what are we doing?
Wow.
Talking them into the building, baby. Talking them into the building.
That's it. That's it.
100%.
Yeah.
And one
Looks like
other
Gabe
thing.
Kidd a
Yeah.
little bit too.
Yep, I'm gonna show you one other thing that
Yeah. That's
talk about Hell in the
completely
Cell. What's that?
different. Ah, nice.
There you go.
And that was one of the first times they had ever put a cage on top.
That's crazy, dude.
You see, it's not even bolted down.
That's
It's just
unhinged.
up there. Yep. It was wild. This is
Tommy
the
Rich.
entire.
There he is.
Yep. As you can actually watch the entire Omni show from there.
Wow.
That's
pull
very
that up.
cool, dude.
Okay. So
But yeah, you
that's
see-
homework for all of us.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
You see,
I'm
the
gonna put it in the
inspiration
group
for
chat
Hell in the
for
Cell,
sure.
like you said.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, so
Yeah, you could tell there was a difference in personality or his delivery and all of that. I mean, a complete different. Yeah.
totally
yeah.
different. So think about before. That's how he always acted, yelling and all that kind of stuff. Now, Tommy,
Mhm.
you changed me. So it's a whole different storytelling, right? It's all about talking them into the building, and you think about even back then, it's every single month was in the Omni, every on Sunday nights, and just talk them into the building. That's how you had to, make your money. But all right, so that's dog number one. So we have some other ones out there. So I got to bring another one. So obviously you're gonna know who this one is. His son may be a current dog, but we're gonna listen to Rick Steiner, the dog face Gremlin.
Revenge my situation in Survivor Series. The outcome of Survivor Series was one for the All-Americans, and that was a great thing. You see, Borga stands for all the things that we don't care about and we don't want to know. Finland, wherever you're from, who cares? It's in America, and I'm an American, and that's what I stand for. When we come to the Madison Square Garden, one of the greatest, probably the best arena you can wrestle in, the WWF. Well, boy, You come down to that ring, you come to the dog pound, boy, because you're going to find out one-on-one. This is what the Steiner brother, the dog-faced Gremlin, is all about. Ooh, I'll make you famous, boy.
Shout out to one dog-faced gremlin,
Nice.
Rick Steiner.
Legend.
So,
Man, that's shit genetics, man. Their promo, their delivery, their
Cadence,
voice,
dog.
the cadence, that's genetics,
crazy,
man.
right?
Jeez, man.
So,
Oh my gosh.
Adrian, I'm gonna come to you first. What was your thoughts on old Rick Steiner?
I mean, I love Rick Steiner. I didn't love his promo. I'll go ahead and put that out there. I did not love his promo, but it's something about the Steiner brothers that just really does bring. That's super nostalgic for me because that was one of those tag teams that I loved, and I loved everything. I loved what they had on, except for that Michigan Blue. I just love the energy they brought. I just love them as a team, how they worked in the ring and their presentation. And I love the fact that Braun is like reliving he's bringing back, like, it's not just over blatant that yes, this is a child of Rick Steiner. This is, they essentially tried presenting him like he wasn't a Steiner. They didn't give him the name Steiner for that fact, right? But I just love how now, fast forward to Braun Breaker, he gives you all of the cool elements of the Steiners without just putting it in your face that he is the son of one of this legendary tag team.
Exactly.
But shout out to Rick Steiner because I've met him. Cool guy. I enjoyed my time with him.
Yeah, he's a very interesting dude. The fact that he's a member of school board now is hilarious.
Right. Yeah.
And he's a real estate agent. Yes. He owns his own real estate thing. Adelie, what's your thoughts on Rick?
It was fine. I mean, it's I kept laughing just because it's hilarious to see someone that they clearly told, here, just say something about MSG, and even then it was like the best. Yeah, let's. Right. Clearly promos not the strong suit here, but really all I need to know is those last like 5 to 7 seconds where he got you barking, and and that's it. Like, that is the character, right? Everything else felt superfluous, felt forced. This dude should not have been talking that much, and thank God it was a very short promo. But really, just looking at the guy from the get-go, if you look through the promo, and I was fixated on this, his eyes and eyebrows do not move till the very end. They are straight-faced. The top half of his face, we're talking promo, right? Emoting and facial, such a big deal. That they don't move. He's looking straight at the camera. Dude's barely blinking, right? But again, it's irrelevant because the character doesn't need all that. He doesn't need to be a talker. He's gonna kick your ass. That's about it. So the big bushy mustache. I mean, it's just, he has a character of characters. And at the time, we're also talking about the Steiners themselves. Like, they were imposing. They were these like athletes that were just happened to be in a wrestling ring, and it worked out. So I have fun with it. I mean, I can't say anything more than that.
So here's where I'll push back on both of y'all a little bit. It was a great promo. Here's why.
Okay.
Rick was he was never presented as smart. He was never presented as articulate. He was never presented as that was all the way from NWA, WCW, all the way over and then back. He was never presented like Scott. Scott was always presented as the one who was a little bit more articulate. Even when he was crazy, he was much more articulate.
Right.
And so this was a perfect Rick Steiner promo where I don't know what I'm saying. And if you go back and look at his early ones, even when he was with Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, when him and Sting were partners, he was the same way. And when he was with Rotundo, who we just talked about as IRS, when him and Rotundo and part of the varsity club, they always degraded him. He was always the one who always kind of talked a little off, a little remedial, right? He didn't put his words together great. And I think that's what this promo was. Whether it was supposed to be that way for WWE or not, I don't know. But that was his promo style throughout his career. And it's kind of like, and it's like, that was what I think made him endearing.
So you think he was playing like the meathead, like fully? And that's like,
Dude.
I mean, look, it's pro wrestling, so you're going to amp up some version of yourself, right? You put it that way, I mean, kind of fits, right? If it's the what they're going for. I will say this, I don't buy his acting prowess to believe that fully. You know,
Adrian, I'll ask this question to Adrian. Adrian, when you had an interaction with him, was he articulate or not?
He was
extremely right.
Yeah, very much.
So that's why I say
you can tell he's an educated guy. Yeah,
and and I think he's very intelligent, but he knew his role. And I don't know that he was overly. I don't know if he was great with the camera, like when the red light goes on or not. But that was very constant throughout his entire career. And the other part, when I look at this one, especially more so than WCW or when he was NWA, Vince ain't putting you in front of a camera. Rarely do we see crappy promos that are not designed in WWE. Unless they're live. But if they're taped, we did the Kerry Von Erich one. We saw Kerry produced. We saw Kerry not produced. Kerry not produced was awful. Kerry produced, succinct, boom, Texas Tornado, done. So that's where I kind of push back on you guys with that one.
No, I feel that. Especially with our perception.
Right.
Our perception of him as a performer, as a promo. He got us to where we needed to be, you know. So,
and the other thing about that,
well done.
And you kind of mentioned, that Michigan jacket or whatever. Just a reminder, in the college football playoff, Georgia did whip their butts.
We did
34-11.
Dominated.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was ugly. Wouldn't even
go
close.
Dogs. Yep.
Yes, 100%.
Suck it, Michigan.
I'm okay with that as a former Pac-10 member. So.
All right, so we're gonna bring you another one, another dog. So where are we going now? We're gonna bring you two of them. We're gonna bring you one K-Dog and one Road Dog.
Gonna start this off right. First of all, the truth. He went out there and he showed and proved. Now tonight, me and BG, we're gonna go out there and bring the tag titles to the 3LA camp. And let me tell you something, Team Canada. Not only have you started something you don't know how to finish, you've started something you don't even know how to start. Orale!
Just like K-Dog said, tonight, 3LK regains what has been rightfully theirs from the get-go. And if you didn't know, it's because we told you so. So sit back, relax, watch us do the dang thing. Team Canada, we're about to school you boys.
It's time, the Three Live
I wanted
Crew.
to bring something TNA related, and I was like, K-Dog. I'm going to jump real quick. To me, one of the most underrated promos in the history of wrestling. Underappreciated across the board.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he legitimized the Wolfpack. He brought in a different cool factor, his whole promo style and everything. So I just had to throw that out there for K-Dog. Out of lead, I'm gonna pass it to you. Talk to me about what you think about K-Dog and Road Dog in this context.
First, no. Let's be clear. The moment I see like TNA Victory Road 2004, I'm like, has it been 20 years? That's crazy. Wild.
That's crazy.
That just feels like a fever dream then. And the fact that these two dudes are at the same, like just looking back at where they end up going, right? And their place in wrestling history, this is not the moment for them, right? This is them coming off a lot, right? They're trying to just make it work in TNA, right? This is, not the doldrums, but it ain't exactly it yet. For some, to see these dudes in this context, especially Conan, who people forget how massive that guy is.
Yep.
And just see him again. We just talked about being a meathead, right? this dude, can cut a promo. He knew his character really well. By this point, he has finessed, he has distilled his promo to and I'll talk about good old BG over here too. He's distilled this promo to what it was like 15, 20 seconds maybe. He told you what he's gonna do. He gave you his catchphrase, right? Just an orale, and then powders off camera. You notice that move. It's almost like I got my stuff in here, and then obviously the commentator goes to BG. And again with Brian James, right? He has that same cadence, right? That sing-songy cadence that really worked in the Fed run. But here he is to a new audience, right? To still hardcores, right? Because TNA was just really what it was, hardcores at the time. And again, brilliant, knows the character in and out. Not a long promo. I feel like the interviewer probably spent more time setting it up than they actually spoke, and then the bookend at the end. What's most alarming is, yeah, right. So and it's a tight fit. It's a tight minute, or I don't know how long that was fully. Super well produced. The most hilarious thing is the guy known for promos later long is the one that doesn't say a word.
Yep.
And it's like even him evolving in that sense. But as a segment, if I can take off the rose-colored glasses and I'm just watching as a TV viewer in 2004, I'm intrigued because these dudes look like killers. They look like they know what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And they would talk them into the building.
Absolutely.
So, Adrian, when you look at this, and we both know that even at this point, K-Dog was in, Conan was in WCW, kind of got his stardom there. Road Dogg was with, DX, got his stardom there. When you saw those two promos back to back, kind of together, I know it's one big promo, but those two together, what did you think about?
I thought it worked perfectly. Like it perfectly meshed together. As in personalities, as in characters, as in just culture wise when it comes to Wolfpack, NWO, DX, that would have worked perfectly together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like what going back what Ali said when it came to Conan, like you could tell he knows his character. He knows what made him massively popular with a lot of us wrestling fans. That gimmick, that Wolfpack gimmick, he knew that was his deal. Hell, he gives us some of that in his podcast at this point.
Yeah.
Like we're 20 plus years away from it, and he's still giving us a little bit of that, And when it comes to Road Dogg, like Road Dogg knew that's where his ceiling was. His ceiling as a character was Road Dogg Jesse James. So I'm going to give as much of that character wherever the hell I end up. If I'm at TNA, you're going to get Road Dogg Jesse James without it being Road Dogg Jesse James. If Road Dogg went to New Japan on some whim as a wrestler, we would have gotten Road Dogg Jesse James without it being officially Road Dogg Jesse James, because that's one of those things when you come from a machine, that's a proven commodity. It's no need to change anything about that. This is what's getting me over. This is what's making you guys pay me the amount of money. So I'm going to run with the greatest hits. And that's essentially what his direction as a character was. It was like, I'm going to be Road Dogg Jesse James without you guys calling me Road Dogg Jesse James. So it's two pros at work, man. That's perfect. And like you said, damn near under a minute. And we're all like, man, what's next? Or we're ready for that match. Like that sort of thing,
To me, watching that, yes, they hit the hits, but they were like, it was like they remixed the hits. It was like I'm not getting the same old stuff. I'm not getting
for sure.
But I got it a little bit fresh. I remember. So I'm gonna context this one first.
Okay.
Watching it, I was like, these dudes are stars. I mean, you watch it, they're in, they're out, and I'm like, yeah, I need to see this.
Yeah.
I like that first dude. I like that second dude. Don't know about the third one because he didn't say nothing. But I'm like, if I was brand new and I just had never seen it before, right? I'd be like, oh, I need to see what these dudes about to do. They just talk me into whatever's next in what 50 seconds.
Yeah.
That's a promo. That's somebody who doesn't need to tell a full, long, drawn out anything. It was, I kind of told you I'm going against Team Canada. We about to go take care of this. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I remember back. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I always feel like there's a certain part of the podcast where I'm like, see, this is what today's wrestling is missing. But this is what today's wrestling is missing.
Yeah.
Like we get so many doggone monologues and like, God, man, it's like, man, just let's ramp it up, fellas. Let's give me a little bit. Give me a little bit, throw a little bait out, and we're gonna eat it right on up like this one. But you know, today's wrestling, we get so many doggone monologues where it's like daytime. I don't know if it's the Hollywood writers that, you know, these companies have brought in to interact creatively, but it's some kind of weird shift that needs to happen where we get a little bit more of that. That's what I want to see more of. I kind of see that NXT. I'm not gonna lie. I know I'm always hyping up NXT, but we do kind of see that kind of
talk your talk, dude. It's real.
When it comes to promos, man.
Yeah, you're getting a little taste of it here and there. I'm gonna go back to when I first saw 3 Live Crew. So anybody out there who does not know about TNA back in the day, that's what they were called. They were called the 3 Live Crew. It was R-Truth, Ron Killings, BG James, and Conan. And the first time I heard that, I'm like, that's the dumbest crap I've ever heard in my life. Like, and I was like, why this? Oh, so now we just took K-Quick and threw him with Road Dogg because they teamed together. And then I swear after 1 week, they had me. Like,
you were in it.
You literally saw the chemistry between these three, and it was like amazing. Not just on the microphone, in the ring. It was just something about those three together that makes no sense. Let's just call it what it is. It truly doesn't. But they made each other better. I truly believe it. Like, it was like, it was just chemistry. It was one of those things, like when you watch certain tag teams or trios, whether it's a New Day, whether it's Usos, of course, they're brothers, whether it's Street Profits, whether it's Rock and Roll Express, there's just certain FTR, you see chemistry. Like immediately, like these dudes just get it. And those three just got it. And
I think 3 Live Crew works because that's working class. Yeah, I mean, that's for working class people. That's white trash with black trash with Mexican trash. We kick it. We function together. we have similar struggles. So that kind of makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like that makes sense. Like we had white guys in the hood, you know, like they had the same struggle. We had Mexicans in the hood we all had the same struggle. We all kicked it. So that's why 3 Live Crew made so much sense, because it was just like, yeah, I can see that. I can see that, you know?
The other cool thing I liked about them, and if you think about when we talk about trios, like Freebirds or New Day or, you know, so many others, 3 Live Crew worked, and they didn't always have to cut a promo. Like in that case right there, Killing said nothing. And there were other times BG said nothing. There were other times Conan said very little, which is unusual. But it was like they didn't always have to talk. Everybody didn't have to get their stuff in.
Right.
And it was it's such a respect factor. So I think they're one of the most underrated factions of all time. Underappreciated.
I feel
for
that.
sure.
I feel that.
So anything else you guys want to mention about the 3 Live Crew?
Makes me want to go back to 20 years ago TNA now, man. We got Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer, and now we got this match that I need to go back and check out.
After
A
this,
lot
I'll
of
tell y'all.
homework, man.
I can't tell this on the pod, but I'll tell y'all a story about Tommy Rich after this.
Word.
Right on.
But not something that we could tell on here. Sorry, y'all. And no, we don't have a Patreon for none of that stuff. I ain't telling it on here. But
Not yet.
Facts.
exactly. All right, we got one more. We got one more dog. And so for those uneducated about, University of Georgia Bulldogs, there was a defense that they used to have back in the early 80s, 70s. They were called the Junkyard Dogs. So there's no way we do a dog segment or a dog show without bringing JYD. Come on. There's no
Nice.
way. So a little thing about JYD, he was actually my first ever favorite wrestler. We did a long time ago about who talked me into the building originally, and we uncovered it was actually Ole Anderson, but I thought it was Dusty. And then Hogan was always my favorite throughout, but JYD was my first ever favorite. Like, introduced me to Another One Bites the Dust. That's what he used to come out to, if you guys didn't know that.
Yeah.
And it was in a feud against the Freebirds. The Freebirds blinded him right here in Atlanta. And then you go to find out they also blinded him in Louisiana. And then they also blinded him in Houston.
Funny how
Weird.
that works.
Weird how all that worked, right? And then during that whole time frame is one Ted DiBiase later on who invested really well and became a millionaire and became the $1 Million Man, got pile driven 7 times by Terry Bam Bam Gordy outside the ring while him and JYD were tag teaming. It's a crazy feud here, and apparently that happened in Mid-South as well. But I don't know what made JYD think he should keep going after the Freebirds when the same thing was happening to him. But what's even crazier is JYD was my favorite. But on my personal ever favorite wrestlers, Hogan's there. And this is the one that blows everybody's mind. Michael P.S. Hayes is on mine. He's one of my favorites of all time.
Of course.
I'm a Freebird through and through. I love Jimmy Jam too. So those people who hate on him, whatever. Yeah. I love Jimmy Jam. I love Buddy Jack. I love Terry Bam Bam. All of them. So anyway, one, JYD. We got to talk about him. We'll come back and get y'all's feedback after this one. It's a short promo. It's nothing to
mention the fact that Paul Orndorff and Rowdy Roddy Piper with Cowboy Bob Orton in their corner will be going against Hulk Hogan and Mr. T with Jimmy Superfly Snuka in their corner. That's the one they're talking about. Big match for you, a shot at the Intercontinental title, and Greg the Hammer Valentine.
You know, it's going to be one Sunday for everybody throughout the country to remember. You know, usually on Sunday, everybody goes to the big house. But when I go to the big house the following Sunday, I'm going with something. Either a bunch of money in my pocket or Greg the Hammer Valentine hanging off the 4 Scissors on Thumb Street with that big piece hanging around my waist. Not saying I'm going to win it, Mean Gene. But one thing about it, he can't come to the ring like a cabbage, all head and no rear. He's going to have to bring a little to get something, and it's going to be a whole lot on this whole gotten-to-be-gotten, baby.
You had better believe it. It is the biggest wrestling spectacular of all time. WrestleMania, Sunday afternoon.
Oh, man, what a pro.
Rest in peace, man. Rest in peace, bro.
Adrian, I'm coming to you first. That promo right there. Tell me a little bit about what you think about that promo, including the Mean Gene piece. Then tell me a little bit about your opinion of JYD.
Okay, well, that promo in particular, this is another showcase of how great someone like Mean Gene is, because he's driving this promo. He's behind the wheel, and he's letting JYD get his stuff in, get his little lines off. But in the end, I'm still driving this segment because he's the master MC. He's the legendary Mean Gene. There's no one else that's gonna touch Mean Gene, at least in my opinion as a pro wrestling fan. But in terms of that promo, JYD looks awesome. Like it's so 80s. The jumpsuit, the tracksuit, the chains, the rings. He reminds me of uncles that I have currently that have multiple rings on their fingers for whatever God knows reason, that they'll show up to Sunday dinner after church or whatnot with 12 rings on their fingers. But shout out to them because I do love my uncles. But They're country as hell, just like JYD was.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, but my opinion, JYD, he's one of the greatest of all time. You could easily see why people love that dude.
Mhm.
You could easily see why he just like transcended. He transcended so much
Mhm.
as a black wrestler, man. Around that time, we've had discussions about this, whether on the podcast or off the podcast. The the barriers that were
Yeah.
essentially set, the ceilings that were determined flat out. If whatever kind of performer you were as a black wrestler, but he smashed through a lot of them. He didn't smash through all of them. He smashed through a damn good amount of it, because I'll talk to older pro wrestling fans and they'll tell me about Mid-South JYD. They'll tell me about
Right.
JYD in New Orleans, how crazy it was for him and what kind of reaction he would get, what kind of star he was, and is very inspiring, but also I would say it's more inspiring than frustrating to see someone like JYD, to see what kind of career he had. Because I know in the back of my head, I'm like, damn, what if they really gave him all the, he took advantage of the opportunities that were set ahead of him. Make no mistake about it. Hell, I remember him on Hulk Hogan's Rock and Roll, like the cartoon. He was a character. He was a mainstay character on there. So that in itself is pretty cool to say. So rest in power to him. One of the greatest of all time, man, and definitely one of my personal favorites.
Ali, tell me a little bit what your opinion about that promo, and then what you remember about JYD.
I mean, ditto to a legend, and someone that I didn't, have the full appreciation for till later. It's you're looking at characters, looking at multiple, you know, as a wrestling fan, I just kind of had a wide berth in terms of who I saw. And for him, going back to this promo, right? It's just he looks the part, he talks the part, and even at the end, the little chirping at the end where he's not on mic, but you can still hear him. Like it has like that added layer. Anybody else, the mic's off, you shut up. Maybe you do some mannerisms, but he's running his mouth till the very end, right? And I think later on, I think there's a quote where who is it? Kevin Owens runs into Stone Cold at the airport, and he asks him for advice. And he said, "What advice?" And he knew he was we're workers. It was him and Sami Zayn actually at the airport. And Stone Cold tells Kevin Owens, "Never stop running your mouth." And ever since then, down to the ring. And it reminds me a lot of JYD, obviously, clearly, before Stone Cold and everything, but someone who knows his character like the back of his hand. This is a seasoned pro at this point. You mentioned all the territories he worked in, right? Adrian was talking about this too as well. And at this point, this is, I'm going to use the word again that I used with K-Dog. This is a distillation of the character, knowing exactly what he needs to say, exactly, what he needs to get across. And again, with Mean Gene there buttressing it all, right? Knowing when is the right move. All right, let's bring it back. All right, let's wrap it up and let's go. So just a pro segment end to end, from production to the set layout to the art design to everything, but ultimately just JYD being JYD. And in this moment before Mania of all places, right? Because these were interstitials. These were like multiple wrestlers had similar promos. He stands out because he looks like $1 million there. And even if you don't know who he is, and you brought this, if you brought JYD as he was in that moment to 2025, he still looked the part. He looks amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I know the one thing that frustrates me is because you start to learn. Like as a kid, I loved JYD, loved him throughout his career, of course. But but then you start to learn, man, he was his own worst enemy. You start to hear about these other things. If you watch him, and that just that picture right there, WrestleMania 1, and then go look at him at WrestleMania 3, his body's changed.
Completely
Right.
different.
He's not in the shape he was in.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at some of the stuff he did in Mid-South, jacked to the gills.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, wasn't it, I'm like, man, the world was sitting there in his hands. What's wild about his star power is he was, New Orleans, Mid-South. Bill Watts put him on top because he saw what he had. And that was a huge risk. Let's call it what it was. At the time, that was revolutionary. Whatever anybody wants to say about Bill Watts, at the end of the day, he put JYD on top.
Yeah.
He put Ron Simmons on top.
That's a fact.
So whatever you want to say about the man, he did. And because he knew what he had. At the end of the day, they both the only color they saw was green, and it was a lot of money.
That was the
And
most important color.
Yeah, if you go back and look at Mid-South, which became UWF later, I would argue that started the downfall of Mid-South. The moment he left and went to WWE, they could never replace him. They tried.
Yeah,
they tried. Multiple people. They tried Brickhouse Brown. They tried Iceman King Parsons. They tried Savannah Jack.
I remember Iceman. Yeah.
They tried, and then all of a sudden you had Steve Williams, Dr. Death. He becomes the UWF champion. Terry Gordy becomes that. They get the Freebirds to kind of light it back on fire, and they kind of, at some point he's like, I can't do this. He sells out to Jim Crockett. But JYD was a huge star, and so you guys, NFL fans, what do they chant down in New Orleans for the Saints?
Who dat?
Yeah.
Who dat gonna beat them Saints? Prior to that, it was actually who that gonna beat that dog. And if you go back and look, that was the chant that inspired the Saints chant today.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's a deep cut.
Yeah. It's wild. Like I went back, and I think there was there was a chant even before that inspired Dog, but Dog is the one that took it huge into the Superdome and all these other places, and they adopted it to the Saints.
Did y'all watch his Dark Side of the Ring episode?
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I was like, jeez.
Yeah. I remember him coming out at WrestlePalooza. Not the one recently, obviously. The one ECW that took place in Cobb County, Georgia. And he came out. Let's just say we know that it wasn't just beer that he had been drinking. And he had cut himself shaving, and he had stuff on his face. And I was like, dude, what are we doing? Oh, man. It was like, it hurt me. I'm not going to lie. It hurt to see him come out like that. But I love seeing this promo. I loved him in WWE, but loved him even more prior to that in NWA, in Mid-South. Just JYD talked me into the building as a kid, 100%.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys like this one, kind of dog theme, because, we in the middle of dog season with the University of Georgia and, college football. Just wanted to kind of take it down a different path and just think about others throughout this time frame. And nowadays you got Braun Breaker, we already talked about. You got, and then you just think about, to me, you had like the British Bulldogs. That was one I kind of thought about, man, those dudes. And then you always looked at, to me, like a Chris Benoit was like a dog in the ring. He was just like, just tough like that. I know they called him the Wolverine. That's Michigan. But we talking like those dogs, man. And out there, I feel like there's so many other ones. And, I didn't bring another promo, but I will just mention there was another one who happened to go to the University of Georgia.
I was waiting for it, man.
Who, speared everybody, who made a lot of money. And Stephen A. Smith said he's the greatest of all time. Won Bill Goldberg. So all SEC talent. But I didn't bring Bill on purpose because, I wanted to go a little bit deeper cuts.
Yeah.
I figured we gonna rep the dogs anyway, so why not?
I was waiting for a Pero Aguayo promo.
Oh yeah, that was el mal.
Yeah.
But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. So anything you guys want to wrap up on? Adrian, anything you got from anything you want to wrap up on?
Man, no, great selections, man. That was fun. Listeners, we say it every episode, but if this is your first time checking us out, we appreciate it. like, comment, subscribe. That always helps with the algorithm. And let us know in the comments, like, who's your favorite dog wrestler or dog related wrestler? Let us know.
Yeah, out of the league. What about you? Anything you want to wrap up with?
Yeah, I want to hear more dogs in wrestling, and maybe this could be an ongoing series. Maybe we do cats, we do lizards, iguanas,
Nice. Yeah,
and this has endless possibilities if we really think about it.
It does. It does. A couple other just something else to throw out there because we are homers. I'm right here. AJ Styles. If you ever look at AJ Styles, he reps a lot of University of Georgia stuff. It wasn't that long ago when game day was sitting in Athens and their guest picker was one Cody Rhodes. So just saying.
They need
The
a college theme
Armstrongs,
episode.
the Armstrongs from University of Georgia. So there's a whole bunch of them, But no, I appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. Thank you guys for indulging me in this dog episode. And hey, like you said, like, subscribe. Let us know some of those suggestions, whether it is, hey, some of these animals or some other types of things. There's all kinds of stuff out there. There's lizards, there's reptiles, there's like you said, cats and dragons and all kinds of wild stuff out there that we've seen.
I forgot dragons.
Yeah, Coco Beware with Frankie, all kinds of things. I mean, you think about the lizards. Hey, you'd have to throw in Santino with the Cobra. But
You got to.
anyway, thank you guys for watching. Check the back archives, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Leave some comments, and we will see you next time on Talk 'em in the Building.